work in the White House tested positive for coronavirus, an aide to the vice president and the president's personal valet. So the question is that a precaution that the president is now trying to take because of that? Even though Vance getting coronavirus.
Yeah, Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, appreciate it. Perspective now from CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN Chief Political Analyst Gloria Borger, and Dr. Eric Topol. In addition to being a renowned cardiologist, he's also on the coronavirus front lines as founder and director of the Scripps Research Translational Institute. Dr. Topol, when you heard the president say this today, what did you make of it?
I actually was stunned that there's absolutely no data to support the use of this drug, hydroxychloroquine, for preventive aspects of COVID infections, and there is definite risk. As you reviewed, the April 24th FDA guidance was based on the fact that there have been serious heart arrhythmias from this drug being used. And as also noted, there's been a doubling of cardiac arrests in the New York experience just published in JAMA last week. So we have all the data to support risk, no data to show benefit, and here the president is taking the drug. I think your point about potential defiance, not just defiance of the science and the medical work that's been done to date, but the fact that he's promoted the drug so long and so hard, perhaps that has something to do with it.
Dr. Topol, I mean, you're a cardiologist. Can you just explain the potential heart issues that this drug might cause if not taken as prescribed? Because as we mentioned, the FDA has warned of serious heart rhythm problems. The Journal of the American Medical Association was concerned of lethal consequences. And I know at the VA study that there were a number of cardiac issues, cardiac arrests with people who were taking this.
Exactly. So the reason why this is a serious matter is that the heart is susceptible to, during the repolarization phase, that is, after the heart has been stimulated to contract. In that phase, there's an interval called QT, and this QT can be prolonged, particularly by hydroxychloroquine. In addition, there's azithromycin too, so it's a double whammy. But just hydroxychloroquine can do this. And the important point, Anderson, is that it's not something that's just because you have heart disease. It could be a genetic predisposition. It could be because of other medications that one's taking. But the key point is you can't predict it. And there is this risk of this serious heart rhythm. It's called torsade de pointe, and it can result in cardiac arrest and death.
Sanjay, I mean, how much does this concern you? And also, you know, when the president says, well, look, this drug has been around for, 30 years, people taking it for malaria. I think I took it 30 years ago for malaria, and I actually stopped because I didn't like it, as I recall. I was 17 years old at the time. But, I mean, how alarming is this?
There's no evidence that this works. It's very concerning, Anderson, and I think irresponsible, because I think it's sending a very wrong message. It's a message that he has sent before on hydroxychloroquine. The concern is that, as Dr. Topol was just saying, there's no evidence that it works. There is potential harm. This flies in the face of all of his own medical organizations, including the FDA, which says this medication should not be used outside of a clinical trial or outside of patients who are hospitalized. There is no evidence that it works either for treatment or for prophylaxis, as you mentioned in the lead, Anderson. So it makes no sense, and almost to the point where you wonder if something else is going on here that we're missing. Like Dr. Reiner, who worked at the White House before, sort of brought this up, but he said, did the president have an exposure that was very significant that we don't know about, and that's why they're very concerned about him? He's in his 70s. He has this evidence of heart disease. If he had a significant exposure, what's going on here? It doesn't make sense, and I'm worried that it sends the wrong message to people.
Yeah, Sanjay, I want to go to Caitlin Collins because I understand she has some information coming from the White House. Caitlin?
Yeah, so Anderson, we just finally got a statement from the president's physician on why he is now taking hydroxychloroquine and confirming that he is indeed taking it. This is from Dr. Sean Conley, the doctor who conducts the president's physicians, someone he references often. And he says, noting our reporting 2 weeks ago about the president's personal valet testing positive for coronavirus, He said that since then, the president has continued to receive regular testing and has tested negative. And then getting to the good part where he talks about hydroxychloroquine, he says, in consultation with our interagency partners and subject matter experts around the country, I continue to monitor the myriad studies investigating potential COVID-19 therapies, and I anticipate employing the same shared medical decision making based on the advice at hand in the future. He says after numerous discussions that he had with the President Anderson regarding the evidence for and against the use of hydroxychloroquine, quote, we concluded the potential benefit from treatment outweighed the relative risk. Now, he is saying that, though the president, and in this letter tonight, he confirms the president does not have any coronavirus symptoms, and he's continuing to test negative for coronavirus. So it's not clear really what treatment he's talking about that the president needs that would require him taking this medicine, though clearly the president made clear earlier he sees it as a preventative treatment. But this is a statement from the president's doctor confirming that, yes, he is taking this drug that his own FDA has warned about taking in a non-clinical setting.
Caitlin, can you just read the second part? Because I was confused by the language there. I might have missed something that ended up with, you know, we decided, but there was a couple sentences before that.
Yeah, so it's 3 graphs. It says, talks about the presidential valet testing positive, and in the second graph it says, after numerous discussions he and I had regarding the evidence for and against the use of hydroxychloroquine, we concluded the potential benefit from treatment outweighed the relative risk. So it says the potential benefit. It's not for treatment. It's not clear what hydroxychloroquine is treating for the president, since he does not have coronavirus symptoms, and they say he does not have coronavirus because he's continuously tested negative for it.
Sanjay, what do you make of that statement? I mean, the doctor is saying he seemed to agree with this, whereas the president sort of indicated that the doctor said to him, do you want it? And the president said yes, and the doctor gave it to him.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, you know, I don't know that the White House doctor, Dr. Connolly, would have recommended this on his own. You know, he's looking at data, and if you look at the data, there's no data to suggest that you should do this, because there's no data to suggest, again, that it works as a prophylaxis, which is what it sounds like here. So someone who's had an exposure, and now you're worried, am I going to get it? So there's no evidence that it works for that. There's concerning evidence about it possibly being used as a treatment, and that you might have these significant side effects, like you were talking about with Dr. Topol. Mm-hmm. So I don't get it. Did the president have a significant exposure, and now the White House is trying to do something prophylactically? There's just something here that still does not make sense. But what I can tell you is that regardless, it flies in the face of all the guidance that's coming from the federal government's public health organizations themselves. It just doesn't fit.
Gloria, I mean, you know, Gloria, go ahead.
No, I think that's the real question. What exactly is the president's exposure here? We know that the vice president's press secretary was exposed, has coronavirus. We know that his valet had coronavirus. Clearly, the White House doctors are concerned. This is a president, as we all know, who does not even wear a mask, even though he had exposure. So you can imagine the conversation, I'm sure, where his doctors were concerned, and maybe the president, as he said today, just suggested, well, how can I, you know, what have I got to lose? How about taking this? And as Dr. Reiner pointed out, and remember, he was Dick Cheney's doctor, that at the White House, they have all kinds of equipment there. They monitor the president very closely, and I'm sure they monitor him even more closely every day. So if he develops an arrhythmia or something, they can take care of it in the way they could not with any of us if we were to take it. And again, of course, we have no idea. We believe it's not preventative, but the president has all of that surrounding him.
Dr. Topol, just briefly, I mean, if a patient says to you, I hear this is great, I've got a lot of friends calling me about it, I want it, is it the doctor's, I mean, what do you do as a doctor?
I mean, the responsible doctor would say, no, there's no data to support this. There's a risk that we know of, and it's significant, and so we can't prescribe that. So in a way, that's complicit, and it's really unfortunate because it is somehow it promotes the drug in a reckless way, and moreover, it's this whole commitment to the game changer and all the other things that were being done for many weeks. It really is deeply concerning.
Dr. Topol, I appreciate your expertise.
I just say, here's what's really reckless.
Yeah. Caitlin Collins, thanks as well. Sanjay, stay with us. When we come back, there's breaking news on a vaccine that's showing early promise. We'll be joined by one of the first volunteers who got it, Neil Browning, a frequent town hall guest. He joins us. Later, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on the president's prescription, her own party's prescription for dealing with the economic impact of the pandemic and the president's habit of firing the watchdogs he doesn't like, even though he claims not to even know this one. That and more when we continue.
아 힘들어.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello, everyone.
my name is Alan.
My name is Olivia Kay.
My name's Wilfred Wood and I'm a sculptor. A little tour around my studio. Paints, varnish, and all that sort of stuff.
This particular piece tries to depict the anxiety that goes on in my mind during this uncertain period.
For me, one of the ways I've dealt with being in isolation is by looking out of the window a lot. I always find it really comforting to hear other people and see other people. It gives me a sense that I'm not alone.
It helps you relax. It helps you express how you're feeling.
It will really help feeling that you have achieved something. I've heard things like I can't draw, I can't sing, I don't have any talent, as if there's a right or wrong way to be creative.
I personally believe that every human being is creative.
I think it's important to just start with something you think you'd enjoy and to enjoy the act of making as opposed to expecting a certain kind of result out of it.
Creativity does not necessarily have to manifest itself through art. It can be through anything. It can be through how you cook,
아 여기까지 하겠습니다.
how you dress, how you
아,
piece
못하겠어.
something
힘들어.
together. It can be through how you arrange your house.
Don't think about it. Don't read books. Don't read tutorials.